Welcome to the National Library of Jamaica's celebration of World Book and Copyright Day 2021 under the theme, Read So You Never Feel Alone. Jamaican authors at home and in the diaspora are celebrating with us by reading from their books, which they have compiled and deposited at the National Library of Jamaica in an effort to keep building our heritage and history. To begin, we will hear remarks from the Honorable Olivia Grange, CD, MP, Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, followed by Dr. Saadia Sanchez-Vegas, Director of the UNESCO Cluster Office for the Caribbean.
We spend a lot of time reading from screens these days, but there's just something special about picking up a book, turning the pages, and entering a world curated by the author. Many of us have rediscovered the pleasures of reading during this pandemic as we turned to books when we had to distance from family and friends. So if you're feeling isolated, I encourage you to read so you are never alone. At the same time, I encourage more Jamaicans to write and publish because it's so important that we tell our stories from our unique perspectives. Our songwriters are lyricists, and many of our musicians are composers, and our visual artists are storytellers. You too can publish books. Make use of the provisions of the Copyright Act and the mechanisms through JIPO, JamCopy, JCAP, JAMS, and the National Library of Jamaica to protect and promote your work. And please remember to deposit a copy of your work at the National Library, which is the keeper of the nation's archive of printed and digital publications. I now invite you to enjoy this treat from the National Library, which has assembled authors from across the world to read passages from their works in this special celebration of World Book and Copyright Day.
Message from Ms. Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, on the occasion of World Book and Copyright Day, 23rd April 2021. In this period of uncertainty, many people are turning to books to help them escape lockdown and cope with anxiety. Indeed, books have the unique ability both to entertain and to teach. They are a means of exploring realms beyond our personal experience through exposure to different authors, ideas, and cultures. They are a means of accessing the deepest places in our minds. Page by page, books light a path for us to roam unbound by time or borders. In other words, books give us freedom. It is the power of books that we all need right now, as we are reminded of the fundamental importance of literature as well as the arts in our life. In celebrating books, we are also celebrating their authors and provide us with snips of life and insights into other realities. They open a window onto the world, more precisely, a window onto other worlds and other forms of existence. And for this reason, every year, on 23rd April, the day on which the honorable authors William Shakespeare, Miguel de Cervantes, and Inca Garcilaso de la Vega passed away, we celebrate writers whose work have been captivating our imagination for centuries. Today, we also pay homage to all the professions associated with books: editing, translation, publishing, and book selling. These fields make it possible to disseminate our heritage to allow for the expressions of new ideas and to enable the spread of stories. These professions must be protected and their value acknowledged. This is all the more relevant in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, which poses a deep and lasting threat to culture. This is why UNESCO is supporting the work of publishers through undertakings such as its partnership with the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA, and the International Publishers Association, IPA. The power of books must be fully harnessed. We must ensure their access so that everyone can take refuge in reading and by doing so be able to dream, learn, and reflect. This is the significance of the commitment made by Tbilisi, Georgia, which becomes the 2021 World Book Capital on 23rd April. UNESCO designated this city because of its focus on the use of modern technologies to promote reading among young people. Their program, OK, So Your Next Book Is, has worked to transform books into digital games and help ensure access to all. At a time when reading is invaluable, the importance of our commitment to integration, education, and peace in and through reading becomes crystal clear. For this year's edition of World Book and Copyright Day, I therefore encourage each and every one of you to pick up a book, start turning its pages, and draw from it a breath of fresh air, which will help sustain you now and in the future.
Books have been used as a vehicle to pass on knowledge and information, for entertainment and inspiration, and to give people an avenue for self-expression. So, let's dive in.
Hi, my name is Patrice Simpson and I am the author of She. Today, I will be reading a chapter from my book for you. This piece is titled Ave Maria. She needed purpose. She needed security, guidance, compassion, love. She craved peace. It was hard going through each day without a reason, without living out her purpose. She gazed out her window. It was a gloomy morning. The rain was falling. The sun did not come out to play today, she thought. She watched the raindrops falling in a similar pattern to how her tears had fallen. Slowly, more rapidly, slowly, more rapidly. She had often wondered if the skies were crying when it rained, if the clouds just got so sad they couldn't hold the emotions anymore. She watched the raindrops, she listened to them, she reached out and felt the coolness of the rain on her tired hands. If only the rain could just wash away all her pain, worries, and sorrows. If only the rain could consume her and make her whole. If only. She had been through it. She had witnessed it all. All she wanted was to be truly happy again. But instead, she beat herself up. She held on to too much. She sometimes forgot she was only human. She breathed an air of freshness. in and out. She inhaled and exhaled. She sat by the window watching the raindrops, contemplating. Her deep thinking was interrupted by the vibration of her phone. It was her daily reminder of positive quotes. She opened the app and the quote read, "The rain may pour, but soon the sun will shine again." She smiled. How did an app know exactly what to say? But it was right. She'd just have to ride out the rainy days. Pitter, patter, pitter, patter, pitter, patter. The raindrops hit the ground. She closed her window, went by her sofa and knelt. She was going to pray, a powerful prayer, a prayer filled with faith.
Hello, my name is Coriandre, novelist and author of the book Divine Rights. Today, on World Book and Copyright Day, I'll be reading and sharing with you an excerpt from my novel. After 3 days of rain, the mountain slope became soggy. It's green, dark, and the soil a heavy shade of brown. Birds sang ancestral ballads that echoed across rapids below the breast of Watch Hill. Portland's central security post sat within its peak, and buried deep below were maroon settlements. The League categorized its people as Sigmas, a nation, state, and network that remain hidden under a vast haze of grey. The creep of morning began. Its soft crimson glow grew into a fiery blaze in the distance. It made Troy eager to reach home, and he barreled the truck down the highway. Uncertainty pestered his mind, but the land's everlasting beauty chased it away. It was a place of healing for Troy. Moortown was his refuge, but it had been 7 years since he fled. He slowed down after taking the exit that led to Portland, and after 20 minutes, he was now just meters away from the entrance. Portland's flag beckoned from behind the grey metal gate. It stretched upward more than 35 feet, overlooking the Kingston Wall. What he saw reminded him of the separation. He crept the wheels with gradual caution, stopped, then hopped out the truck. Placing his hands behind his head, he began to walk and continued slowly toward the gate, and then kneeled to the ground. It opened sluggishly, revealing a verdant green that stretched far into the highlands. Hundreds of banana trees danced in the morning breeze, while dew atop vegetable beds sparkled under the sun's gaze. Portland soil gave life, and it was the envy of Eurasia and the League ever since word got out. Troy rose to his feet, and then a beam of light cleaved before him. It shot up from the concrete with a thunderous voice echoing from its glow. "Why have you come here, Troy?"
Hi everyone, my name is Shamika Lindsay and I am the author of Popularity Rule. Okay, so I'm reading from chapter 10. So it goes. "I'm not following you," she said in a hurried whisper, her breathing as fierce as mine, and wrenched her hand away from me. I straightened and returned my gaze to the main road. Apparently no one had witnessed our little fiasco. "You are following me. Now tell me why," I demanded, crossing my hands tightly over my chest. She straightened and gave me a terse look, mimicking my folded arms. "I'll do no such thing." Her accent sent knives in my direction, but her eyes were rolling my face again, searching for something that I probably didn't know was there. "Do I know you?" I asked, whispering again. "I mean, have we met before?" She shook her head and smiled widely, her teeth almost glistening. "If you met me, you wouldn't have forgotten me." My brows furrowed as she spoke, but I know she was right. There was something about her that reminded me of Avery. Sure, they looked like polar opposites, but her very stance, the way she was sure of herself, the way she seemed to know just how well to get under my skin. It's almost as if I was looking at Avery in someone else's body. How do you know Avery? I asked quickly, the words tumbling out of my mouth. I watched as she sighed and took a good look at me. Why are you here? Closure, I replied. Why are you here? She paused for a moment, her mouth opening and closing in shock. I live here. Your accent says otherwise. Jana stared at me for a moment, unblinking. I felt uneasy staring back at her, as if I was doing something wrong, as if I was the ultimate betrayer. But I just couldn't force myself to look away. She was a little lower than eye level and didn't exhibit any signs of discomfort, while I, on the other hand, felt myself starting to sweat. We can't stay here, she said finally, dropping her gaze to the ground. Okay, I said, looking around, feeling the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Where do you want to go? Your car. Let's go for a drive. I barked out a laugh and narrowed my eyes at her. No, pick again. She rolled her eyes and nodded, holding her hands up in mock surrender. Fine, I know just a place that's private enough. I didn't question her. I merely nodded, gesturing for her to lead the way. Instead of walking back out to the main road, she continued into the alley. I stared at her for a moment, unsure. My mind flashed back to when I had blindly trusted Avery and where it led me. Now with this girl, this replica, I barely knew her, and yet she wanted me to follow her into the unknown. Are you coming? She called, not even looking over her shoulder at me. I clamped my eyes shut for a moment, truly unable to believe I was about to do something this stupid again. I jogged to catch up with her, and she barely threw me a withering glance over her shoulder. I hope you're fit, she said conversationally, stepping over the murk of the alley, almost as if she knew it like the back of her hand. On the other hand, I had to keep my eyes straight to the ground to avoid stepping in unidentifiable liquids. The grime of the alleyway increased the further we got, and I did my best not to grimace at the sight. Jana didn't seem to be interested in if I was keeping up or not, and barely looked at me as we traversed the area. We were coming up to a wall when I started slowing down. Your private place doesn't include breaking and entering, right? On the first date, she quipped smartly, batting her eyelashes in an exaggerated manner. Never. I didn't get the chance to respond before she hooked her foot in a chain link and hoisted herself onto the gate, her back almost sandwiched between the wall and the barbed wire fence. I stared at her open mouth as she maneuvered her way over by jabbing her hands through any open crevice and fell lightly on her feet. She raised an eyebrow at me and motioned to the fence. With a sigh, I decided to humor her. I hadn't hopped a fence in years, and I was sure my pants and muscles were quite unforgiving. Jana watched with a closed-mouthed smile as I hooked my foot through one of the chain links. So that's the little excerpt of Popularity Rules Death to the Crown.
Hello everyone, happy World Book and Copyright Day. I'm Purple Flame, and to celebrate today, I want to read to you from my book, Cassandra. Now, Cassandra is a 15-year-old girl living here in Jamaica and dealing with sexual abuse. It's a topic that I find that is not talked about enough, and it's a very important one. So I wanted to help persons dealing with such matters open up some more, and so I wrote this book. Now, to give you a little backstory, Cassandra is on her way home from school, and she had just learned about the sexual experiences of her friends Michelle and Simone, and she's weighing it against her own. So she says, on my way home, I began to think of my life, and my eyes began to well up with tears. Realizing that I was surrounded by a busload of people, I stared wide-eyed as hard as I could to stop the tears from falling, until finally I had to blink. I quickly rested my head on the back of the seat that was in front of me and let the tears fall. What kind of a mother would let her child succumb to such a depraved act? I thought of the many questions that I had and the answers I could not find. When I turned my head and looked through the window, I realized that my stop was coming up. I quickly dried my tears. As I got off the bus, I tried to push the thoughts out of my mind, but I found the more I tried not to think about it, the more I did. Simone and Michelle both had normal lives. They had a choice. I began to think how life was unfair, and I thought to myself, Jacques said the word on a level. And I pondered the words because we often liken someone whom we thought to be an idiot to a jackass. But here was one of our more profound quotes, and the wise I spoke of was a jackass, and I laughed out aloud. It wasn't a laugh of fun, but rather one of disbelief, and I said to myself, the were on a level indeed. Cassandra.
We hope you've enjoyed our celebration of World Book and Copyright Day 2021. Thank you for watching. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to the authors who took the time out to share their creations with us. And we hope this will inspire others to make their deposits with the NLJ as well. Let's continue to explore, discover, and connect.